Street Smart Sales. Street Smart Sales.
So, Brian, man, you know what's very interesting about success, right? If we look at any genre, um, any field of success, and typically what's highlighted or what's on the poster is this one model or this one theme or this one person. So we look at businesses, we look at sports, we look at something like Tesla, right? And we see Elon Musk all over the place, or something like Amazon, and we see Jeff Bezos just out in front. Or even sports, right? We see Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Tom Brady, but without the proper pieces, like, right? Without like the proper team, proper elements in place, they may or may not have been as successful as they've been. And us as the consumer and the experience that we've known to enjoy from these places definitely wouldn't be at the scale. And it's very important that we see our business that way too. So today, Brian, let's talk a little bit about and share some insight on how important it is for not only the solopreneur or entrepreneur themselves to be operating at a high level of intensity and integrity and aptitude and all those fancy words, right, for production. But let's talk about how important it is for you to have the right pieces around you, the right role players around you, and how you actually move through that process.
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned to you literally right now at the time of this recording, this is something that I'm dealing with, in my own business right now is we're growing, we're getting busy, we have a lot of different projects coming down the pipeline. I'm only one person, right? I have an assistant writer on my team. Found out the other day due to how much she's working at her day job, she could only work maybe like 5 hours or so a week on projects for me. Not very much at all. My rock star copy editor that I had, similar situation. I didn't realize she was working so much at her day job. Ever since they bumped her up to salary, you and I know how this goes. Get bumped up to
Hmm.
salary, all of a sudden, look, you're working 50, 55, 60 hours a week. Um,
Yep.
you're not getting overtime anymore. So a lot of that is free labor, right?
Yep.
Um, it sucks, man. So she hasn't been able to work as many hours as she used to be able to with me. There's just not enough time in the day, you know. They're both super talented, but there's just not enough time to go around with the work that we're getting. So I've been having to do the lion's share of a lot of the projects, and they help wherever they can. With that being said, made some quick pivots, found a kid from my other business that I have with a friend of mine. He works with my friend and my partner in some of their companies and some of their clients. So he's going to work with me, at least for the little bit of the foreseeable future, helping with like research. That's a big need for us, especially with our grant writing projects. I need a research assistant, help me create some rough drafts, some templates, some skeleton copies, frameworks, checklists, proofreading different things, organizing materials, simple stuff. He's going to help with that because he doesn't. I have to do it all, right? So it'll take a lot off my plate, at least in that regard. Then, like I told you just yesterday, when I was thinking about, okay, where am I going to find a copywriter who's also a talented editor? Because that a lot of our projects are starting to become more of these very heavy grant writing projects, and we're working on getting some email marketing clients, et cetera, et cetera. So we need some writing and editing, someone with some real chops, that can handle that type of work. My old coworker from a couple of years ago texted me out of the blue, and we started talking about kind of what's going on in the business. And she said she'd be interested in helping out with some projects, 5 to 10 hours a week. Great. What a sigh of relief, right? But it's so important to find the right people based on the needs of your business. And I think for most of us, that first need for me was hiring an administrative person who could help with like my bookkeeping and some simple like admin tasks. And that's someone I found them a few months ago, thanks to my friend, from my other business. Because he was working with him. So he basically loaned him over to me. That's usually step one, is finding a good admin person or VA to handle a lot of those types of scheduling, organizing, bookkeeping, accounting, and simple things like that. Well, it's not simple, but it might be simple for them, right? It takes that off of your plate, so you can go up and focus on business development, plan development, selling,
Mhm.
being an actual entrepreneur and not just a guy that works here or a girl that works here. You know,
Very true. Very true. Yeah, I think too, as far as like knowing the skill set that you need for your business, as we talk about piecing the puzzle together for success, I think that it's also very important that who you find has the capacity to do it as well. Because you can find a lot of skilled people or people with the experience or the expertise, however you like to view that. But again, they may have another job or they may be, pretty much full time in their own business and their own venture. So you might find what seems to be the perfect person who just doesn't have the time, doesn't have the mental space, doesn't have the priority management or time management to actually help you out too. So those are also very good conversations to have with people that you're recruiting, if you will, to help you out in your business. So um, it is it is very crucial that you don't try to do this alone, especially when you get to a certain point. And I know that both Brian and I can attest to that 1000%. But Brian, is there anything else that you would bestow upon the people here um, that they should really prioritize when it comes to expanding their team?
yeah, I think the biggest thing is pay very, very close. And I've learned the hard way to try to get better at this. Pay very, very close attention to patterns when it comes to people, especially. One of my mentors is my client, one of my clients, he's basically become a business mentor for me. He talked a lot. One of the things that he mentioned as far as what's helped him find success in his own business over the last 3 decades that he's had it is recognizing patterns, not just in his business, but with his employees, the people he would interview to potentially hire, customers, his competitors, pattern recognition. He would really harp on that. I should have paid closer attention to people's patterns when I noticed certain little things about them. There was one person I brought on board very, very briefly to help me with like one client, and that was the last client I allowed him to help me with because I should have seen it from the beginning that he was a people pleaser. Whenever I asked him for help or resources or anything, for me personally, not for a client, it was always, yep, I'll get on that. And within a few days or later that day, the resource would show up in my inbox or whatever, a Loom video about this or that. Great guy. Can't say enough good things about him. But it was never, I never once heard no, or I'm swamped with my kids, I'm swamped with my job. I don't think I can do that in that. I never heard him say no, which I found a little odd, right? Because I know he's busy. He's got 2 young kids, he's got his own business, he's got a full-time job. The dude's got a lot on his plate, not a lot of spare time. And so I I made a mistake. I ignored them. I ignored it. I just looked for the good in him, had him help me with a client. Communication started breaking down. I was asking for status updates, wasn't getting them in a timely manner. And we ended up not being able to really help that client as much as I wanted to be able to help them because he was swamped at his job. He was swamped with his kids. He was swamped with his life. But instead of telling me that and communicating that, he wanted to avoid confrontation and he didn't speak up about it. And then by the time he would leave me a voice note back and give me an update, too much time had gone by. And I didn't feel comfortable continuing on with the client because I didn't feel like I would be able to keep the promises that I would make them if I kept relying on him.
Mhm.
I haven't asked him to help me with a client since. This was like within the first, I think, 3 to 4 months of me having my business. So it was last year. It's been, almost a year since.
Wow.
And I haven't trusted them to help me with any of the clients because that's the pattern. It's the people pleasing pattern, right? I can't afford to make that mistake again. I can't afford to have you tell me yeah, I'm good. I'll help. And then you don't come through in a timely manner, and the client is going to get pissed at me, not you, because it's my business. So
Mhm.
my reputation will suffer. They'll leave me a negative review or speak badly about me to their friends and family or other people in their professional network. They're never going to want to work with me again. No, man, can't risk it. You know, he's got all the talent in the world, great guy, wonderful personality. You don't communicate effectively enough for what I need and what my clients need. So I should have recognized that pattern. I did recognize it. I'm sorry, I did recognize it, but I chose to ignore it. I didn't see how important such a small little thing was, such a small little character flaw. And I chose to ignore it, and that was a mistake. So